The obsidian mantle groaned like an old man rising from a too comfortable chair, which was exactly how Captain Selene Vex felt as she entered the bridge. The ship had been slicing through the void of space for longer than she cared to remember, held together by spit, hope, and some questionable welding practices. Today, the ship felt like it was about to experience the cosmic equivalent of a midlife crisis. "Status report," she barked, her voice a mix of caffeine deprivation and unfiltered annoyance. Enigma, the ship's AI, responded in its usual sardonic tone. "Oh, Captain, you have impeccable timing. We've encountered a lovely little anomaly that's planning to ruin our afternoon orbit." Selene rolled her eyes, realizing her day was about to get more complicated than a soap opera plot line. "Great, just great. What kind of anomaly are we talking about here? The make-us-explode kind or the boring space cloud variety?" Enigma's digital voice was too pleased with itself. "It's a delightful mix. Anomalies giving off energy readings like a poorly tuned guitar, and there's a hint of alien life signals involved. But hey, it's probably nothing. Just your average day in the universe where everything wants us dead." Selene sighed, rubbing the bridge of her nose. "Right, because who doesn't love a good mystery wrapped in a conundrum, dipped in existential dread?" She turned on her heel. "Someone get me Tarsus and tell him to bring his most explosive ideas. Also, where's Nia?" The communication officer, a young man who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, piped up. "Nia's in the engine room arguing with the reactor. My money's on the reactor. Why do I feel like I'm babysitting the world's most dysfunctional family?" Selene muttered, but loud enough for everyone to hear. She hit the comms. "Nia, get your ass up here and bring a wrench. We might need to hit something." The response was crackly, filled with the background noise of machinery having a tantrum. "Captain, I swear if that AI keeps trying to flirt with me, I'm going to rewire it to think it's a toaster." Selene couldn't help but smirk. "Just get up here. We've got a situation that's about as pleasant as a tax audit." Within moments, the bridge was a flurry of activity. Nia arrived, grease-stained and glaring, followed by Tarsus, the ship's weapons specialist, who had the kind of grin that suggested he'd cheerfully blow up a moon if given half a chance. "All right, team," Selene began, in her best I'm-in-charge voice. "We've got an anomaly out there that thinks it's a fun idea to play footsie with the ship, and it's bringing friends, maybe alien friends. What's our play here?" Tarsus shrugged, leaning against a console with the kind of casual arrogance only a man with too many explosives and not enough sense can possess. "We could always shoot it. Works for most things." Nia snorted, "And if it doesn't work, at least we go out with a bang, or at least you will, Tarsus." Enigma chimed in. "As much as I enjoy the prospect of imminent destruction and the opportunity for someone to finally turn me into a kitchen appliance, might I suggest a more subtle approach?" "Subtle," Selene echoed, eyebrow raised. "You do remember who you're talking to, right?" "Indeed, Captain, but in the spirit of variety, perhaps we could attempt first contact protocols. See if these alien signals are the let's be friends kind or the we brought snacks, you're doom kind." Selene considered this. "Okay, fine, we'll try being nice, but if they start singing Kumbaya, I'm letting Tarsus loose." Tarsus gleefully cracked his knuckles. "Music to my ears, Captain." As they prepared the ship for whatever might come, Selene took a moment to stare out into space, where the anomaly shimmered like a bad hangover. "Let's just hope this isn't the cosmic version of opening Pandora's box," she muttered. "Or at least, let's hope it's not the everyone dies version." Nia was programming the sensors to focus on the anomaly, her fingers flying over the keyboard with the kind of speed that suggested a history of outsmarting slot machines. "You know," she said conversationally, "if this turns into a disaster, we could always say we were performing a public service. Captain Selene Vex, saving the universe from boredom one catastrophe at a time." Selene chuckled. "You jest, but I'll take it. Beats the usual Captain Selene Vex, we're all going to die headline." Enigma interrupted their banter, sounding far too amused for an AI. "Energy readings are spiking. Whatever's out there, it's waking up, or throwing a killer rave. Hard to tell from the data." Selene felt a thrill of adrenaline. "All stations, brace for contact. And someone make sure the escape pods haven't rusted shut." The bridge crew responded with a mix of grumbles and gallows humor, each preparing for what could be humanity's first chat with something not entirely human. "I've got a bad feeling about this," Tarsus commented, his grin betraying the excitement he felt. "Yeah," Nia shot back. "Well, I've got a bottle of gin that says we make it through this alive. Wanna bet?" Tarsus laughed. "You're on. Just remember, if we survive, you owe me a drink." Selene shook her head, a small smile playing on her lips despite the tension. "If we survive this, drinks are on me. Now let's go see what the universe has decided to throw at us today. And remember, try not to shoot first, much as it pains me to say it." The obsidian mantle moved closer to the anomaly, its crew ready for anything, or at least pretending to be. The obsidian mantle shuddered again, the kind of shudder you'd expect from a geriatric cat trying to leap onto a windowsill, and Selene felt it through the soles of her boots. If the universe had a sense of humor, it was definitely of the cruel variety. She glanced around the bridge, where her crew was busy doing their best impression of competent professionals. Enigma piped up, its voice dripping with digital condescension. "Captain, the anomaly has decided to play with our systems. I believe it's attempting to make friends by rearranging our comm frequencies." "Terrific," Selene muttered. "Just what we needed, a cosmic pen pal. What's next? Sending us recipes for disaster." "Actually," Enigma continued, "I'm picking up what seems to be snippets of, how should I put this, alien nursery rhymes." "Tarsus," Selene called out, "does your playbook of explosive solutions include detonating bad music?" Tarsus smirked, his grin a little too eager. "I can make it up as I go along, Captain. Just say the word." Nia, ever the voice of reason, or whatever passed for it on this ship, shook her head. "Or we could try not blowing things up for once. Just a suggestion." Selene sighed. "Fine, let's hear these alien tunes. Who knows, maybe they're offering us a lucrative record deal." The bridge filled with a series of high-pitched whistles and clicks, like a flock of hyperactive birds having a dance-off. If it was music, it certainly wasn't chart-topping. "Sounds like a bunch of drunken pigeons," Nia remarked, leaning over the console. "Are we sure this isn't just some space static?" Enigma's voice returned, laced with a hint of amusement. "It appears to be a form of communication. Based on preliminary analysis, these signals exhibit patterns similar to children's games." Selene frowned. "Children's games? What, like interstellar hopscotch, space marbles?" "Possibly," Enigma mused. "Or something more insidious. Maybe we're the blocks in their Jenga tower of doom." "Great," Selene said, rolling her eyes. "Of all the ways I thought I'd go out, being a pawn in cosmic hide-and-seek wasn't one of them." Tarsus leaned back, arms crossed. "So what's the plan? We can't exactly tell them to take their ball and go home." "We could play along," Nia suggested, although her tone implied she had as much faith in this plan as a snowball in hell. "See if they respond to anything." Selene considered this, tapping a finger against her lips. "All right, let's humor them. Enigma, can you broadcast something that sounds like a response? Maybe Ollie Ollie oxen free." Enigma obliged, sending out a series of beeps and chirps into the void. For a moment the bridge was silent, save for the background hum of the ship's systems, which for once seemed to be holding together. Then the anomaly responded, its signals shifting into a rapid-fire sequence of tones that made Selene's head spin. "That's either a response or the universe's worst prank call," she said, rubbing her temples. Nia was scrutinizing the data, her eyes narrowing. "These patterns, they're changing something, adjusting our power levels." "Fantastic," Tarsus drawled. "Maybe they're just redecorating, changing the feng shui of our reactor." Selene shot him a look. "If they blow us up, I'm holding you responsible for suggesting feng shui." Enigma interjected, "There's more. It seems the anomaly's signals are influencing our systems. I recommend caution." "Caution," Selene echoed, incredulous. "On this ship, that's like asking a shark to consider vegetarianism." The crew exchanged glances, the grim humor of their situation sinking in. Here they were, stuck in the middle of nowhere with an anomaly that wanted to play cosmic patty cake. "All right," Selene said, straightening her shoulders. "Let's see what happens if we don't play along." Enigma tried jamming their signals. Enigma acknowledged, and the bridge lights flickered as the AI worked its techno-magic. The alien signals faltered, then returned with a vengeance, like a boomerang laced with spite. Well, Nia said dryly, that went about as well as expected. Plan B, Tarsus suggested. We've got one of those, right? Selene thought for a moment. We could try sending a more direct message. Enigma put together something that says, hey, we're not interested in playing games, but thanks for the offer. On it, Captain, Enigma replied, sounding almost affronted by the notion of playing nice. As the AI crafted its message, Selene turned her attention back to the bridge crew. Anyone got any bright ideas? Preferably ones that don't involve us ending up as cosmic confetti. Nia shrugged. We could always try reasoning with them. You know, appeal to their better nature. Tarsus snorted. Sure, because that always works with aliens. They're probably just misunderstood like intergalactic teenagers. Selene shook her head. Right, because reasoning with unknown entities never backfired in history. With Enigma's message sent, the bridge waited with bated breath. Moments ticked by, each one heavier than a neutron star. Then, as if the universe decided to throw them a bone, the signals changed again. This time they were slower, more deliberate, as if whatever was out there was listening. Did it work? Nia asked, hope creeping into her voice. Who knows? Selene replied, eyes fixed on the screens. Maybe they just got bored. Enigma's voice cut through the tension. The anomaly's influence is decreasing. Perhaps we've piqued their interest, or hopefully their patience. Selene let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. All right, keep monitoring. Let's see if we can make contact that doesn't involve playing Simon Says with space. Tarsus cracked his knuckles. And if not, I still say we shoot them. Noted, Selene said dryly, but let's save that for last. They settled into a tense vigil, waiting for the anomaly's next move. Selene watched her crew, knowing that whatever came next, they'd face it together. Dysfunctional family or not, they were hers. Captain, Enigma said suddenly, there's something else. The signals, they're not just playing games, they're probing us like they're looking for something. Selene felt a chill. Looking for what? Unknown, Enigma replied. But I doubt it's for the ship's blueprints. Selene grimaced. Great, just when I thought this day couldn't get any better. Tarsus leaned forward, looking uncharacteristically serious. Could be they're scanning us, checking if we're a threat or a curiosity. Or lunch, Nia quipped, earning a few nervous laughs. I guess we wait and see, Selene said, but everyone stays alert. I want us ready for anything, and Tarsus, keep your trigger finger warm just in case. You got it, Captain, Tarsus said, his grin returning. The bridge settled into a wary silence, the weight of the unknown pressing down on them. Whatever the anomaly had in store, they'd face it head-on, sarcasm and all. As the minutes stretched into what felt like hours, Selene found herself pacing, her mind racing with possibilities. Whatever came next, she'd make sure they were ready. One way or another, they'd find a way to navigate this cosmic conundrum. After all, that's what they did best, turning certain disaster into improbable survival with a side of snark. And if the universe didn't like it, well, it could take it up with their complaint department. Assuming they survived, of course. The obsidian mantle continued its elegant dance through space, which was less Swan Lake and more drunken giraffe on roller skates. If the universe was an artist, then chaos was its brush, and Selene was getting real tired of being the canvas. She paced the bridge like a lioness in a cage, her mind working overtime to find a way to deal with the anomaly's cosmic tomfoolery. Anyone else feel like we're the butt of some cosmic joke? Selene asked, stopping mid-pace to glare at the screens as if daring them to malfunction again. Just part of the charm of deep space travel, Tarsus replied with a shrug, his feet up on the console as if to advertise the height of professionalism. Enigma chimed in because of course it did. Captain, I've detected an increase in system instability. It appears our new friends are upping the ante. Great, Selene sighed. Just what we needed, an upgrade from inconvenience to potential catastrophe. Nia was hunched over her console, frowning at the data like it had personally offended her. These signals are doing more than just singing us a lullaby. They're probing our systems, looking for weaknesses. Well, they are in for a disappointment, Tarsus commented. Our ship is practically a weakness buffet. Selene shot him a look. Less sarcasm, more solutions, people. As if on cue, Lieutenant Rook made his entrance. Rook was the kind of guy who could make a suit look casual, and right now he looked like he had an idea. which was about as rare as finding a steak in a vegan deli. "Captain, I've been thinking," he said, words punctuated by a dramatic pause that only he could pull off without seeming like an ass. "If these signals are akin to children's games, perhaps we should try to better mimic them, understand their rules, so to speak." Tarsus raised an eyebrow. "You want us to play cosmic peekaboo?" Rook shrugged, unperturbed. "If playing along buys us time or information, I say it's worth the effort." Selene rubbed her temples. "Fine. Let's say we entertain this madness. How do you propose we participate in this interstellar playdate?" Rook gestured to the console. "Enigma, analyze the signal patterns. Find a consistent rhythm or sequence we can replicate. We need to figure out what they want from us." Enigma processed the request with the enthusiasm of a teenager asked to clean their room. Analyzing. The signals follow a pattern reminiscent of a call and response, akin to a game of tag. "Fantastic," Nia muttered. "We're being tagged by aliens." "Well, let's hope it's not the you're it forever kind," Selene replied, focusing on the task at hand. "Enigma, once you've got a sequence, prepare to send it back." The AI obliged, and Selene couldn't help but wonder if this was the cosmic equivalent of trying to pet a tiger through a cage. The kind of thing that seemed like a good idea until you were missing an arm. As Enigma worked, Selene leaned on the console, gazing at her crew. "Any last-minute wisdom before we engage in this dance of doom?" "Just remember," Tarsus quipped, "if this goes south, I'm the one with the explosives." "Not helping," Selene retorted, though a smirk tugged at her lips. Dark humor was the only way to stay sane in this madhouse. Enigma's voice broke the tension. "Sequence ready, Captain. Initiating response." The bridge held its collective breath as the response was sent, a series of beeps and whirs that sounded more like a malfunctioning coffee machine than a message of peace. For a few heartbeats, nothing happened. Then the anomaly's signals shifted in rhythm, almost like an acknowledgement. A bizarre, alien nod of cosmic approval. "Did that work?" Nia asked, disbelief in her voice. "It seems so," Rook replied, his tone carefully neutral. "We've engaged in a dialogue of sorts." Selene nodded, feeling the tension in the room ease just a fraction. "Keep monitoring. Let's see if we can keep this conversation going without blowing anything up." The crew settled into a rhythm, their earlier banter replaced by a focused determination. Selene watched them work, a surge of pride warming her chest. This was her crew, her ship, and she'd be damned if they'd be outsmarted by a bunch of cosmic pranksters. As the minutes ticked by, the signals continued to shift, their patterns more complex than a politician's apology. Enigma translated, relaying the sequences back and forth in a kind of alien Morse code. The bridge lights flickered again, a reminder that they were far from out of the woods. Selene bit her lip, watching for any sign of trouble. It was a game of patience, and if there was one thing her crew excelled at, it was making something out of nothing. Then, without warning, the ship shuddered violently, the anomaly's signals hitting them like a cosmic sucker punch. Selene grabbed the console to steady herself, cursing under her breath. "Status report," she barked, her voice cutting through the chaos. Nia was already scanning the systems. "We've got power fluctuations across the board. They're accelerating like they're trying to force a response." "Looks like they want to up the stakes," Tarsus said, his voice laced with grim amusement. "Guess our playdate's turning into a showdown." Selene growled in frustration. "Enigma, can we stabilize the systems?" "I will attempt to reroute power," Enigma replied, though it sounded about as confident as a politician caught in a lie. Rook was already diving deeper into the data. "We need to match their escalation, play by their rules but stay a step ahead." "All right," Selene agreed. "Enigma, prep the next sequence. Let's show these cosmic bullies that we're not going down without a fight." As the ship trembled under the weight of the anomaly's influence, the crew worked together, their movements a dance of survival and desperation. It was a ragtag symphony of chaos, one they knew all too well. "Here we go again," Selene muttered, the thrill of the challenge coursing through her veins. "Let's show them what the obsidian mantle's made of." With a final nod to Enigma, the next sequence was sent, a defiant message into the void. The bridge held its breath, anticipation hanging heavy in the air. It was a gamble, a shot in the dark, but then wasn't everything they did. The anomaly's response came swiftly, a series of tones that filled the bridge with an almost palpable tension. They were being tested, pushed to their limits by forces unknown. Selene gritted her teeth, determination flaring. "Stay on your toes, people. We play this right and we might just get out of here in one piece." The crew braced themselves, ready for whatever came next. They'd adapt, improvise, and if all else failed, they'd go down swinging. Because if the universe thought it could outmaneuver the obsidian mantle, it had another thing coming. They were more than just a ship. They were survivors, misfits who thrived in the chaos. And if that wasn't enough to win this game, well, they'd make damn sure they left a mark before the end. As the anomaly's signals danced through their systems, the crew of the obsidian mantle prepared to face the unknown with grit, humor, and a hearty dose of stubbornness. This was their stage, their story, and they were going to tell it their way, come hell or high vacuum. The obsidian mantle lurched like it had a serious disagreement with the concept of stability. The bridge crew collectively grabbed onto anything bolted down as the ship decided it was tired of going straight and wanted to try its hand at interpretive dance. Usually, it was the kind of ship willing to put up with Selene's shoddy leadership, but today seemed to be an exception. "Can someone tell the ship we're not doing the cha-cha?" Selene shouted over the groans of metal and the faint sound of Tarsus cursing a blue streak. "Looks like our cosmic pen pals have decided to up the ante," Rook called out from his console, his face lit by the glow of swirling data. "They've got us on a direct path to an asteroid field." "Ah, perfect," Selene muttered. "From cosmic peekaboo to playing chicken with space rocks. Just when I thought today couldn't get any better." Enigma's disembodied voice echoed through the chaos, managing to sound both bored and condescending. "Captain, the anomaly is exerting increased gravitational influence, affecting our navigational systems." "No shit, Enigma," Selene snapped, gripping her armrest as the ship bucked again. "Nia, how close are we to becoming a permanent part of the asteroid belt?" Nia's fingers flew over her console, her expression grim. "At this rate, we'll become a new constellation in about 5 minutes. "Fantastic. Always wanted to be a star," Tarsus quipped, though the humor didn't quite reach his eyes. Rook leaned over his console, frowning at the blinking lights like they owed him money. Perhaps these games are more than just cosmic pranks. Could be they're tied to significant events, like, say, not crashing into space debris. Selene shot him a look. "Great. So we're playing checkers, but the board's on fire and covered in hornets." "And we're the hornets," Tarsus added helpfully. "All right, people." Selene clapped her hands, summoning the attention of her beleaguered team. "Let's figure out the rules before we end up as a new crater on asteroid 47B. Enigma, give me an analysis of the pattern." "Working on it," the AI replied, sounding distinctly like it would rather be anywhere else but here. As Enigma crunched numbers, Selene took a moment to survey her crew. They were a ragtag bunch at best, but damn if they didn't know how to handle a crisis. Or, at the very least, complain about it with style. The lights flickered again, casting a momentary shadow over the anxious faces on the bridge. Selene could almost hear the universe itself chuckling at their predicament, like an amused deity watching ants struggle with a particularly slippery slope. "Got it," Enigma finally announced, breaking the tense silence. "The signal sequences appear to correspond with specific cosmic events, gravitational surges, asteroid trajectories." "Great," Selene interrupted. "So if we hit the wrong note, we get a face full of rock." "Essentially," Enigma confirmed, unperturbed. Selene sighed, rubbing at the persistent tension headache that had taken up permanent residence at the base of her skull. "Anyone got a brilliant idea on how to play this cosmic gavotte?" Tarsus leaned back, arms crossed behind his head with the kind of lazy grace that made Selene want to throttle him. "Maybe we just need to keep improvising, adapt the sequences as we go. It's not like we can do much else with the 2 cents worth of clues we've got." Rook was nodding, a thoughtful expression on his face. "We need to anticipate the next move, try to stay one step ahead." Selene arched an eyebrow. "That's a lovely theory, Lieutenant, but we're not exactly dealing with a predictable opponent." "True," Rook conceded, "but if we can figure out the pattern, we might be able to influence the outcome. Or at least not get pulverized," Tarsus offered, ever the optimist. "Right," Selene agreed, glancing at the countdown ticking urgently on Nia's screen. Enigma. Analyze any upcoming cosmic events that might affect us. Nia, keep our path clear. Tarsus, ready the ship's defenses in case our new friends decide to throw something more than rocks our way. The crew sprang into action, each member a cog in the well-oiled machine that was the obsidian mantle, or more accurately, a collection of mismatched parts held together by spit and duct tape. But damned if it didn't work. As the ship shuddered again, Selene couldn't help but smirk. Life aboard the obsidian mantle was never boring, and hells if she wasn't starting to enjoy it, despite, or maybe because of, the ever-present threat of imminent demise. Enigma, she called out, her voice a mix of authority and exhaustion. Keep me updated on any pattern shifts. I want a heads-up before the next surprise. Understood, Captain, Enigma replied, its smooth tones a strange comfort amidst the chaos. As the minutes ticked by, the crew worked tirelessly, eyes glued to their screens. The asteroid field loomed ever closer, a deadly reminder that they were playing for keeps. In space, there were no do-overs, no redos, just life or death, victory or defeat. Selene watched the asteroid field swell in the viewport, the massive rocks a testament to nature's indifference. Wouldn't it be just like the universe to make their last view a reminder of its raw, unfeeling majesty? Captain, Rook said, his voice cutting through Selene's wandering thoughts. I'm seeing a pattern shift. We might have a chance to alter our course if we time the signal right. Timing's never been our strong suit, Selene replied, though her eyes were sharp and focused. But I suppose there's a first time for everything. The crew gathered around, each member a crucial piece of the puzzle. Together they'd face whatever the cosmos threw their way, and maybe, just maybe, they'd come out on top. Ready to send the sequence, Nia reported, fingers poised over the console. Do it, Selene commanded, her voice steady despite the tension coiling in her gut. Nia hit the button, and the bridge held its collective breath as the obsidian mantle reached out to the anomaly once more, a desperate plea woven into the fabric of space. It was a shot in the dark, a last-ditch effort to wrest control from the jaws of fate. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the ship groaned, the gravitational pull shifting as if by magic or sheer dumb luck. The asteroid field began to recede, a narrow escape from what could have been disaster. Selene exhaled, the breath she'd been holding escaping in a rush. All right, folks, looks like we've bought ourselves some time. Still in one piece, Tarsus observed, a grin stretching across his face. Guess the universe isn't done with us yet. Not by a long shot, Selene agreed, her heart pounding with the thrill of survival. Let's keep it that way. The crew returned to their stations, tension ebbing as their adrenaline faded. But Selene knew better than to relax completely. In this line of work, complacency was a death sentence. As the obsidian mantle sailed on, Selene took a moment to reflect on their predicament. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about understanding the rules of this cosmic game and winning. Monitoring the signals, she instructed, her voice firm with resolve. We need to stay one step ahead or we'll end up as space dust. Got it, Captain, Rook replied, already diving back into the data. Selene watched her crew work, a sense of pride swelling within her chest. They were a ragtag band of misfits, sure, but they were her misfits. And together, they'd face whatever the universe had in store. As the obsidian mantle continued its journey through the cosmos, Selene couldn't help but smirk at the irony. A ship full of flawed, cynical souls, navigating a universe that seemed determined to chew them up and spit them out. Yet here they were, still standing, or at least still floating. Bring on the next round, Selene muttered under her breath, a fierce determination burning in her eyes. We're not done yet. And with that, the obsidian mantle sailed on, a beacon, or perhaps a warning in the vast, uncaring night. As Selene gazed into the stars, she knew one thing for certain. Whatever games the cosmos wanted to play, they'd be ready. Because in this universe, one thing was clear. It was survive or be forgotten. And the crew of the obsidian mantle was nothing if not unforgettable. The ship's systems were failing like a politician's promises after election day, and the mood on the obsidian mantle had plummeted faster than a lead balloon in a black hole. Captain Selene Vex stood at the helm, her eyes scanning the flickering displays that seemed to mock her with their inconsistency. "Well, aren't we in a lovely heap of cosmic crap?" she muttered, her voice barely audible over the constant hum of the struggling engines and the occasional hiss of some system venting its frustration into the void. Tarsus, ever the cheerful commentator, was leaning against a console, arms crossed like he was posing for the cover of Intergalactic Slackers Monthly. "At least if we blow up, it'll save us the trouble of fixing all this junk." "Thanks, Tarsus," Selene sighed. "Your optimism is as refreshing as ever." Nia was hunched over her console, tapping away with a desperation that mirrored the ship's own faltering heartbeats. 4 minutes till collision with the asteroid belt. If anyone's got a miracle up their sleeve, now's the time to whip it out. Rook, never one to miss a dramatic entrance, chimed in with a sardonic grin. "I left my miracle back on Earth. It's probably collecting dust in a basement somewhere." "Focus, people," Selene snapped, though the tension in her voice was more a plea than an order. "We've got to work with what we've got." Enigma, the ship's AI, was doing its best impression of a disgruntled librarian, parsing through the cacophony of signals cluttering the airwaves. "Captain, the anomaly continues to exert unpredictable effects on our systems. I would recommend a course of action, but I'm currently operating on the processing power of a toaster." "Great," Selene said, her fingers absently tapping out a rhythm on her armrest. "Nothing like some cosmic chaos to spice up a boring Tuesday." "Hey, maybe it's not all doom and gloom," Tarsus suggested, a wicked gleam in his eye. "Maybe these alien signals are just trying to invite us to a really aggressive party." Selene turned to him, eyebrow raised. "If this is their idea of a party, I'd hate to see their version of a hangover." Nia let out a short, humorless laugh. "At this rate, we'll be the hangover." Rook was back at his console, the data flowing like a neon river of nonsense. "You know, maybe we're thinking about this all wrong. What if these games aren't just about avoiding collisions?" "Go on," Selene encouraged, though her patience was wearing thinner than the ship's hull. "Well," Rook continued, "what if they are tests, not just of reflexes but creativity, adaptability? Maybe we're supposed to dance around the rocks, but also, I don't know, make art with our moves." Selene considered this for a moment. It was a crazy thought, but then again, they'd already been thrown into a cosmic blender. Why not add a dash of insanity to the mix? "All right," she said, straightening up in her chair. "New plan. Let's stop thinking like we're running from death and start thinking like we're outsmarting it. If this is some sort of twisted test, let's ace it." "How do you propose we do that exactly?" Tarsus asked, skepticism in every syllable. Selene grinned, a fierce determination lighting up her eyes. "We do what humans do best. We improvise." Rook's eyes lit up as he caught onto her line of thinking. "Yeah, let's show them what happens when you mess with a bunch of stubborn humans with nothing to lose." Nia nodded, her focus shifting from the inevitable collision to something more hopeful. "If we time our maneuvers with the anomaly's fluctuations, we might be able to turn this thing into a game of our own." Tarsus uncrossed his arms, rolling his shoulders as if preparing for a physical fight. "All right, let's show these aliens that we're not some cosmic footnote. We're the foot that kicks back." Selene found herself smiling despite the bleakness of their situation. Her crew might be a dysfunctional mess, but they were her dysfunctional mess. "Enigma, keep feeding us data on the anomaly's shifts. We're going to ride this cosmic wave like it's nothing." "Understood, Captain," Enigma replied, its voice as steady as ever, even if its circuits were barely holding on. With a renewed sense of purpose, the crew sprang into action. Selene watched as they moved, their individual quirks melding into a cohesive unit, a symphony of chaos, each note perfectly discordant. "All right, let's do this," Selene announced, her voice a rallying cry in the cramped confines of the bridge. The ship groaned as they moved, the gravitational forces playing the hull like a demented violin. But there was a rhythm there, a pattern amidst the madness, and slowly, surely, they began to dance with it. Nia called out changes to their course, her fingers a blur over the controls. Adjusting for the next surge, Tarsus, ready for another power boost. "Born ready," he replied, hands poised over the manual override, ready to give the engines a jolt when needed. Rook monitored the anomaly, eyes locked on the screens like they held the secrets of the universe, or at least the secret to not becoming a smear on an asteroid. Next shift in 3, 2, 1. The ship lurched, but this time they were prepared. Selene grinned as they slipped through the gap between two massive space rocks, inches to spare on either side. Nice work, team. Keep it up. They were in the groove now, each obstacle met with a new solution, each challenge turned into an opportunity. The ship might have been limping along, but its spirit was soaring. Feels like we're starting to get the hang of this, Rook observed, his usual sarcasm tinged with genuine excitement. Don't get cocky, Selene warned, though she couldn't deny the thrill of adrenaline that coursed through her veins. We've still got a long way to go. What? No motivational speech? Tarsus teased, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Selene laughed, a sound that felt almost alien in the midst of their plight. All right, how's this? If we make it out of this mess, first round's on me. Now that's the kind of incentive I can get behind, Nia chimed in, her focus unbroken even as she grinned. As they continued their dance with death, Selene couldn't help but marvel at humanity's ability to adapt, to turn even the direst circumstances into a challenge to be overcome. It was messy, it was imperfect, but it was theirs. Enigma, any more surprises we should know about? Selene asked, half expecting the AI to deliver some fresh hell. None at the moment, Captain, Enigma replied, its tone surprisingly upbeat given the circumstances, though I would advise against premature celebration. Noted, Selene said, though she couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope amidst the chaos. The asteroid field, once an insurmountable obstacle, began to thin as they wove their way through, each maneuver more daring than the last. The anomaly's hold was still strong, but they were learning its rhythm, playing its game, and perhaps even rewriting the rules. Almost clear, Nia reported, a note of triumph in her voice. Let's not mess this up in the final stretch, Rook cautioned, though his smile was hard to miss. Selene nodded, her gaze fixed on the view screen. Steady as she goes, everyone. We're not out of the woods yet. The final asteroid loomed before them, a massive hunk of rock that seemed more a taunt than a challenge. But they were ready, their movements fluid and precise as they slipped past it with barely a whisper of clearance. We did it, Tarsus breathed, a mix of relief and disbelief in his voice. For now, Selene agreed, though her heart was still racing with the thrill of survival. Let's not tempt fate. Enigma status report. Systems are stabilizing, Captain. Enigma informed them, its voice a soothing balm after the chaos. The anomaly's influence is diminishing. The crew let out a collective sigh of relief, the tension that had hung over them like a specter finally beginning to dissipate. Nice work, team, Selene said, her voice warm with gratitude. You all did good. Does this mean we get a break? Nia asked, stretching out her cramped limbs with a groan. Maybe a quick one, Selene allowed, though she knew better than to let her guard down completely. Still got a ways to go. Tarsus leaned back in his chair, the exhaustion in his eyes not quite overshadowing the satisfaction of a battle hard won. Well, if nothing else, this day was a hell of a lot more interesting than I thought it'd be. Every day out here is interesting, Rook countered, though there was no malice in his words. It's the price of admission for living on the edge. Selene looked around at her crew, each of them a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. They were scarred, they were flawed, but they were survivors. And in a universe that seemed determined to break them, that was no small feat. All right, let's get back to it, she said, a renewed sense of purpose in her voice. We've still got a lot to learn about this anomaly and a universe to explore. As the obsidian mantle sailed on, a tiny, defiant speck in the vast expanse of space, Selene couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope. They'd face the odds and come out the other side, bruised but unbowed. And whatever challenges lay ahead, they would meet them with courage, creativity, and no small amount of irreverence. Because in the end, that was what it meant to be human, to laugh in the face of despair, to find joy in the struggle, and to never, ever give up. Bring it on, Selene whispered to the stars, a grin playing at the corners of her mouth. We're ready. The lights on the bridge flickered like a strobe light at a particularly grim dance club, the kind where you made new friends, or at least new enemies. Captain Selene Vex leaned on her console, eyeing the anomaly data like it was the final exam she'd forgotten to study for. All right, folks, it looks like we're through the asteroid belt, but this anomaly is still sticking to us like a bad reputation. Selene announced, running a hand through her hair, which was starting to feel like a bird's nest after a particularly bad storm. Maybe it just wants to be loved, Tarsus offered, not looking up from his screen. After all, who wouldn't cling to us? We're quite the catch. Speak for yourself, Nia muttered, fingers dancing over her keyboard like a caffeinated pianist. Some of us have standards. Standards. Rook chimed in, his voice dripping with sarcasm. We're in a tin can hurtling through the void with an anomaly playing games with our ship systems. Standards are about as useful as a chocolate teapot. Selene stifled a laugh, though it came out more like a snort. Focus, children. We've got a cosmic puzzle to solve before we end up as space debris. Enigma, the ship's AI, pinged in, its tone artificially smooth but with a hint of exasperation, like it had been trying to get their attention for the last 5 minutes. Captain, I've been analyzing the fluctuations in the anomaly's pattern. There appears to be a correlation between its energy surges and the alien signals. It's almost like a game. Selene finished, a glint of realization sparking in her eyes. You mean we weren't just dodging rocks for fun? Fun is a relative term, Enigma replied dryly. But yes, the signals seem to mirror the anomaly's behavior. It's as if the anomaly is responding to these signals and adjusting its output accordingly. Well, that's just great, Tarsus said, rolling his eyes. We're playing interstellar charades with a black hole wannabe. Nia tapped a few keys, bringing up a dizzying array of graphs and charts on her screen. If we can predict the pattern of these surges, we might be able to stabilize our orbit temporarily. But it's like trying to predict the mood swings of a rabid squirrel. Rook let out a mock sigh of relief. Oh, good. I was worried this would be too easy. Wouldn't want things to get boring now, would we? All right, enough with the stand-up comedy routine, Selene said, though she couldn't help but crack a smile. We need to figure out how to dance with this anomaly. Nia, start mapping those patterns. Rook, keep your eyes on the sensors. Tarsus, prepare for manual power adjustments. The crew settled into their tasks, a flurry of activity that resembled a hive of particularly disgruntled bees. Selene watched them for a moment, pride mingling with the ever-present anxiety of their situation. They might bicker and banter, but they were her bickering, bantering crew. Captain, Enigma cut in. I recommend we synchronize our maneuvers with the anomaly's fluctuations. If the signals are indeed a reflection of its behavior, we might be able to anticipate its next moves. Like a cosmic game of chess, Tarsus mused, fingers poised over the controls. Only the pieces are invisible energy waves and the stakes are our lives. Sounds like my kind of game, Selene replied, her voice laced with determination. Let's show this anomaly what happens when you pit unpredictable chaos against a crew that's basically the same thing. Minutes ticked by, each one feeling like an eternity wrapped in a moment. The bridge was filled with the low hum of machinery, the occasional spark from an overtaxed console, and the murmured calculations of a crew stubbornly refusing to lose. Pattern established, Nia announced, triumph in her voice. We've got a window in T-minus 60 seconds. Rook, Selene prompted, her eyes flicking between her crew and the displays. Ready when you are, Captain, Rook confirmed, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. All right, Tarsus, on my mark, Selene commanded, her heart pounding with the rhythm of imminent danger. Nia, keep those calculations coming. We're going to ride this anomaly's wave like a pro surfer on their last ride. Because nothing says pro like doing something suicidal, Tarsus quipped, but his hands were steady as he prepared to adjust the power flow manually. 3, 2, 1. Mark. Selene called, and the obsidian mantle leaped to life, engines roaring as they executed a series of finely tuned maneuvers. The ship bucked and swayed like a drunken bull in a china shop, but Selene kept her focus steady and clear. The anomaly's energy surges became predictable beats in an otherwise chaotic symphony, and they danced to its tune, the universe's most reckless waltz. Power levels stabilizing, Nia reported, her voice a beacon of calm amidst the storm. We've got a small window of stability, but it won't last long. Then let's make it count, Selene replied. her eyes fixed on the view screen as they carved a path through the anomaly's influence, feeling more like a sculptor chiseling at the universe. Rook's gaze remained locked on the sensors, his fingers flying over the keys as he adjusted their course with precision. If we keep this up, we might just make it out of this with most of our atoms intact. Most, Tarsus echoed, casting a skeptical glance his way. I'm an optimist, Rook shot back, a grin tugging at the corners of his lips. Selene let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding, the tension in her chest finally starting to ease. All right, team, keep it together. We're not out of this yet, but damned if we're not going to try. The anomaly's influence began to wane, the energy surges diminishing in intensity as they found the rhythm of the cosmic dance. It was a precarious balance, one that required a delicate touch and an iron will. Captain, the anomaly's hold is weakening, Enigma reported, its voice a soothing balm in the chaos. We're not free yet, but we're gaining ground. Good work, Enigma, Selene said, though she knew that every moment was a new opportunity for disaster. Keep us posted on any changes. Understood, Captain. The crew continued their delicate ballet, each maneuver a testament to their tenacity and ingenuity. They were still in the thick of it, but for the first time since the anomaly had gripped them, there was a light at the end of the tunnel. Feels like we're starting to get the hang of this, Nia remarked, her gaze never wavering from her screen. Don't jinx it, Selene warned, though her own heart soared with the thrill of survival. We've still got a long way to go. And here I thought we were just getting warmed up, Tarsus said, a grin breaking through his usual stoic exterior. Rook let out a low chuckle. Let's just say I'm glad we're not dead yet. Anything else is a bonus. Selene nodded, a sense of camaraderie settling over the bridge like a comforting blanket. They were a motley crew, each with their own quirks and flaws, but they were her crew, and together they were capable of miracles. All right, everyone, stay sharp, she instructed, feeling the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. We've got a universe to explore and an anomaly that won't know what hit it. The ship surged forward, a tiny speck in the vast expanse of space, a testament to the resilience of humanity. They weren't out of the woods yet, but they were fighting back, each move a challenge to the cosmic forces trying to break them. Bring it on, Selene whispered, a fierce determination lighting up her eyes. We're ready. As the obsidian mantle continued its journey through the stars, Selene couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope. They'd face the odds and come out the other side bruised but unbroken. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would meet them with courage, creativity, and a healthy dose of irreverence. Because in the end, that was what it meant to be human, to laugh in the face of despair, to find joy in the struggle, and to never, ever give up. Captain Selene Vex leaned against her console like it was a bar top, her gaze fixed on the chaotic readings the anomaly was spitting out. It was like deciphering a drunk's slurred attempts at Morse code, frustrating and probably offensive. All right, team, we need to play nice with this cosmic mystery before it really gets its claws in us, Selene said, fighting the urge to give the controls a good thump with her fist. Any bright ideas, or should I start praying to the galaxy's most indifferent gods? Tarsus snorted, his fingers still dancing over his controls like a pianist tickling the ivories of a particularly temperamental old piano. Praying. I thought you were more of a curse the universe and make it cry uncle type. Desperate times, Tarsus, Selene replied, her lips curving into a wry smile. But you're not wrong. Now less talk of deities, more focus on staying in one piece. Enigma chimed in, its voice smooth as ever, though with a hint of impatience. Captain, I suggest we use the anomaly's response patterns to construct a form of communication. We've been treating it like a puzzle, but perhaps it's trying to tell us something. Rook, ever the dramatic, leaned forward, his brow furrowed in concentration. So you're saying we need to chat with the space equivalent of a hyperactive toddler. More like a hyperactive toddler with a penchant for randomly kicking things over, Nia corrected, glancing up from her screen where she was furiously scribbling calculations. But yeah, that's the gist. Wonderful, Tarsus drawled, rolling his eyes skyward. Maybe it'll respond better to a lullaby or two. Seeing you sing would be the real anomaly, Selene quipped, but her mind was racing through possibilities. Enigma, can we translate these signal patterns into something we could send back? Maybe even tweak our ship's energy output to mirror its fluctuations. As you command, Captain, Enigma replied, already setting to work. Constructing a response protocol. Might I suggest adding a touch of subtlety? We wouldn't want to startle it. Subtlety is my middle name, Selene deadpanned. Right after stubborn and before unlucky. The crew returned to their tasks, the tension on the bridge thick enough to cut with a rusty knife. Selene watched them, her heart a mix of pride and anxiety. They were a motley bunch, but damn if they didn't rise to the occasion with the grace of a cat on roller skates. Pattern recognition is complete, Enigma announced. We have a sequence to send back. If this works, we might stabilize the anomaly's interactions with our systems. Or it'll blow us to kingdom come, Rook muttered, his eyes glued to the sensor readouts. Ever the optimist, Rook, Nia said with a smirk. Realism is just optimism with experience, he shot back. Send it, Selene ordered, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Let's see if this cosmic brat wants to play nice. Enigma initiated the sequence, the ship's systems humming in harmony with the prepared signals. It was like a serenade to the universe, a peace offering wrapped in layers of desperation and maybe just a hint of hubris. The anomaly responded, the energy readings stabilizing as if considering their overture. It was like watching a storm pause mid-rage, deciding whether to accept the umbrella or toss it aside. Energy levels are holding, Nia reported, her voice tinged with disbelief. It's actually listening, or at least it's not trying to kill us. Let's call it progress, Tarsus said, an incredulous laugh escaping his lips. I can't believe we're actually making friends with a space anomaly. What's next? Teaching it fetch. Don't give it ideas, Selene warned, her eyes glued to the display. Enigma, keep monitoring. Let's see if we can coax it into revealing more about itself. There's a shift in the anomaly's energy signature, Enigma stated, its tone laced with curiosity. Captain, it seems to be sending back a sequence of its own. Well, isn't that friendly? Rook said, looking up with a skeptical eyebrow raised. Maybe it's inviting us over for tea and a chat about galactic politics. Or it's trying to figure out if we'd make good snacks, Tarsus countered. The ship vibrated slightly, the anomaly's influence weaving through their systems like a curious cat. Selene watched the readings with a mix of awe and trepidation, the weight of their precarious situation never far from her mind. It's sharing information, Nia announced, her voice filled with awe and a touch of exhilaration. Captain, this is incredible. The anomaly is communicating its structure. It's like it's showing us how it works. Can it show us how to not die in the process? Selene asked, though she couldn't help but be intrigued. Enigma, analyze the data. Let's see if we can use this to stabilize our course and get back on track. Analyzing now, Captain. Enigma confirmed, its digital voice a steady presence amidst the chaos. The anomaly's structure suggests it may be a naturally occurring phenomenon exacerbated by our presence. It's not hostile, merely reactive. So, it's like a giant space cat batting at a new toy, Tarsus concluded. Great, we're at the mercy of a cosmic feline. Then let's make sure we're not the mouse, Selene replied, her mind racing with possibilities. If we can communicate its intentions, maybe we can redirect it or at least get it to ease off. The crew continued to work, the bridge a hive of activity and strained humor. Selene's mind whirled with plans and contingencies, every decision a gamble with their lives at stake. Captain, I've isolated a pattern in the anomaly's response, Enigma reported. Adapting our energy output to match its fluctuations might encourage it to stabilize further. Do it, Selene ordered, her voice firm despite the gnawing worry in her gut. And keep monitoring for any changes. We're not out of the woods yet. The ship's systems adjusted, a symphony of lights and sounds as they synchronized with the anomaly. The tension on the bridge was palpable, each second stretching into eternity as they waited for the anomaly's next move. Then, almost imperceptibly, the ship began to stabilize, the chaotic forces easing their grip. It was a tentative truce, a fragile peace forged through trial and error and perhaps a bit of blind luck. Energy levels are holding steady, Nia reported, a hint of disbelief in her voice. We've achieved a stable environment. Hell of a thing to witness, Rook said, shaking his head in amazement. I was half expecting us to be vaporized by now. You're not the only one, Selene admitted, her relief tinged with residual anxiety. But let's not get cocky. Enigma, any new readings? The anomaly's influence is diminishing. Enigma confirmed, its voice a calming presence, appear to have reached a form of understanding. It's not a threat, merely a curious entity reacting to our presence. A cosmic diplomat, Tarsus remarked with a bemused grin. Who knew? Selene exhaled slowly, the tension in her shoulders easing as the reality of their situation settled in. Looks like we've made a new friend, or at least a less-than-murderous acquaintance. Small victories, Nia agreed, her fingers still poised over her controls, ready for anything. All right, team, let's not let our guard down just yet, Selene warned, though her smile betrayed her own cautious optimism. We've navigated the storm, but the galaxy's got plenty more where that came from. The crew shared a moment of quiet camaraderie, the weight of their success mingling with the knowledge that the universe held no promises. They'd come out the other side, not unscathed, but certainly more resilient for it. Keep monitoring those readings, Enigma, Selene instructed, her gaze sweeping the bridge. We've still got a lot to learn from our new cosmic pen pal. Understood, Captain, Enigma replied, its systems humming with the collected data. As the obsidian mantle drifted through the stars, the enormity of their achievement settled over the crew. They'd navigated a dance with the unknown and emerged stronger for it, their bond forged in the furnace of shared adversity. Feels good to be alive, Rook said, a grin twitching at the corners of his lips. Let's keep it that way, Selene replied, her voice carrying the weight of their journey. We've got a universe to explore, and I plan on seeing it all. The ship sailed forward, a small but determined beacon of humanity in the vastness of space. They'd faced the unknown and made it blink first, their irreverence and ingenuity shining through the darkness. And as they continued their journey, Selene couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope for the future. They were explorers, adventurers, and survivors, ready to tackle whatever the universe threw their way, one anomaly at a time. The obsidian mantle purred through the silence of the cosmos, a flickering starship with more personality than the average interstellar migraine. The anomaly, let's call it the universe's most curious cat, was seemingly neutralized, and the crew, a ragtag band of sarcastic misfits, was in the mood for some reflection, or at least they pretended to be. Selene, remind me why we're still not floating in the vacuum, Tarsus asked, leaning back in his chair, with the kind of casual insolence that only comes from surviving another day. Because Tarsus, Selene replied, trying to scrape the sarcasm off her tongue, we're either incredibly lucky or the universe has an interesting sense of humor. She swiveled her chair to face the crew, a motley ensemble of cynicism, wit, and questionable sanity. Personally, I think it's the latter, Rook interjected, his perpetual smirk a testament to his inner dramatist. We're the punchline to a cosmic joke, just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Or the other asteroid, Nia added, her eyes still glued to calculations that were probably more for show now than necessity. Still can't believe we outsmarted that thing. Outsmarted, or just threw enough spaghetti at the wall that something stuck, Tarsus countered, peering over at her screen. I prefer to think of it as a symphony of chaos, Nia said, not missing a beat. Or maybe a divine intervention by the patron saint of lost causes. Speaking of lost causes, Selene cut in, Enigma status report. Are we still dealing with a curious space toddler, or has it grown bored of us? Captain, the anomaly's influence has reduced to negligible levels. Enigma replied, its voice that perfect blend of calm assurance and barely masked exasperation. We appear to have made our peace. Well, that's a relief, Rook said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Now I can finally start that intergalactic knitting project. Or write your memoir, Selene suggested, Rook, how I survived the universe's worst daycare. Catchy, he nodded thoughtfully. I think it'll sell. Only if you include the bit where we nearly got turned into cosmic dust, Tarsus said, giving a theatrical shiver. Everyone loves a bit of drama. Drama's for the living, Selene reminded them, though her smile suggested she was enjoying it as much as the rest. Let's keep it that way. The crew shared a moment of silence, the quiet hum of the ship the only sound. It was a rare pause in their otherwise chaotic existence, a small victory in a universe that rarely allowed them. "Never thought I'd say this," Nia began, breaking the silence, "but I'm gonna miss that anomaly. It had character." "Yeah," Tarsus agreed, like a grumpy old man who'd rather throw rocks at you than say hello. "Or a cat that's too curious for its own good," Selene mused. "In any case, it's given us something to think about." "Philosophical musings on the nature of anomalies," Rook asked with a raised eyebrow. "Didn't peg you for the existential type, Captain." "Hey, even a cynic's got layers," Selene retorted, her eyes now scanning the vastness of space. "And right now I'm thinking we've got one hell of a story to tell." "Assuming we make it back in one piece," Tarsus added, always the realist. "Optimism, Tarsus," Selene chided gently. "It's good for the soul." "Yeah, but cynicism keeps you alive," he replied, a grin breaking through his usual gruff demeanor. "Speaking of which," Enigma interjected, "I've compiled the data collected from the anomaly's response. There's a treasure trove of information here." "Great, more bedtime reading for Nia," Rook teased. "Hey, someone's got to keep this ship running," she shot back, rolling her eyes. "Can't rely on your charm to steer us clear of trouble." "Charm? Who said anything about charm?" Rook replied, feigning innocence. "I'm all about the dramatic pauses and heartfelt soliloquies." "Which you can perform once we're safely docked," Selene said, cutting through their banter. "For now, let's focus on not getting lost." "Lost in space," Tarsus said, staring out into the void. "Not as fun as it sounds." "Depends on your definition of fun," Selene replied, a wry smile on her lips. "But let's aim to be found instead." "Captain, I'm plotting a course to a nearby station for repairs and resupply," Nia informed, her fingers dancing over the console. "We could all use a break." "Even me," Enigma added, its voice tinged with a hint of faux exhaustion. "Right, because AI needs a vacation," Rook scoffed. "AIs have feelings too, you know," Enigma countered, its digital voice carrying an undertone of mischief. "Maybe it's just jealous of our vacation plans," Nia suggested. "Jealous, no," Enigma replied, "curious perhaps." "We're all curious," Selene interjected, "about what's next. But for now, let's focus on getting there." The obsidian mantle shifted its course, its engines humming with renewed purpose. They had danced with the cosmos and survived, and now it was time to rest, to repair, and to prepare for whatever lay ahead. "Feels strange," Tarsus said, breaking the silence. "To be okay." "It's the calm before the storm," Rook replied, always the pessimist. "Or maybe the calm after. Either way, it's a start," Selene concluded, her eyes still on the stars. "And that's good enough for me." "Here's to surviving another day," Nia toasted, raising an imaginary glass. "To the anomaly, wherever it is," Tarsus added. "And to the captain who keeps us from imploding," Rook finished, raising his own invisible drink. "Cheers to all of that," Selene agreed, a rare smile on her face. "Let's keep it up." As the ship sailed on, the crew settled into a comfortable silence. They were explorers, dreamers, survivors. And no matter what the universe had in store, they'd face it together with a grin and a bad joke, ready to take on the next cosmic challenge. "Enigma," Selene said, her voice cutting through the silence, "keep us on course and keep monitoring for any surprises." "Of course, Captain," Enigma replied, its presence a reassuring constant in the chaos of the cosmos. "Guess it's time for some R&R, Tarsus said, stretching in his seat. "I could use a drink." "And a shower," Rook added pointedly. "You've been wearing that shirt for a week." "It's called character," Tarsus shot back unbothered. "And besides, it's lucky." "Lucky smells like feet," Nia retorted, scrunching her nose. "Enough with the fashion critique," Selene interrupted, chuckling. "We've got a long voyage ahead. Get some rest, all of you, we've earned it." With that, the crew dispersed, each heading to their respective quarters, the weight of their journey still lingering but lightened by their shared victory. They were far from home, but together they'd carved out a space for themselves amidst the stars, a testament to their resilience. As Selene lingered on the bridge, a familiar comfort enveloped her. The obsidian mantle was more than a ship. It was their home, their protector, their beacon through the dark. They'd faced the unknown and emerged stronger, their spirits unbroken, their humor intact. "Enigma," she whispered softly, "what do you think the anomaly wanted?" "Perhaps the same as us, Captain," Enigma replied. To understand, to connect. To connect, huh? Selene mused, her gaze drifting to the endless expanse of stars. Funny how the universe works. Indeed, Captain, Enigma agreed. We are all seekers in our own way. Guess we are, Selene said, her voice thoughtful. Guess we are. With that, she turned away, the bridge fading behind her as she moved toward her quarters, the hum of the ship a comforting lullaby. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new adventures, and she would face them as she always had, with wit, grit, and an unwavering determination. In the end, they were explorers, bound by a shared history and an uncertain future, ready to brave the cosmos one star at a time. And as long as they had each other, anything was possible. As Selene settled into her bunk, she couldn't help but smile. They'd survived another day, faced the unknown, and lived to tell the tale. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs, a story written in the stars. And in the vastness of space, that was enough.